Hello, everyone. So it's right. My name is Dario Spagnolo, and I have the responsibility to break the ice. So be nice with me. And I hope you will enjoy my authentic Italian accent, because I'm Italian. So, right. And we started Oclock in 2016. We started the first classes in 2017. And it was, for me, a personal accomplishment because I started to love computers and everything related when I was just 7 years old, and I never stopped. And it was really a passion for me that I wanted to give to other people. So it's also an honor for me to be here today because the family is very important to me. Oh, come on, you know, la famiglia, you know what I mean. Okay, so it's all connected to me tonight. Oclock 2016, 2017, the first class. At this moment, I can say we have taught how to become a developer to 700 people. And but before we delve into the details, I want to consider this number. It's a very big number. It's 1 million, and it represents an estimation of the total number of unfilled job positions, developer-related, across North America and Europe right now. Not in 10 years, right now. And this means a lot to me, and maybe it means a lot to you, because how many people don't have a job today, or don't like their job today, or fear they will lose their job tomorrow. And here's an opportunity for them. So I think it's a social responsibility to do something. Of course, we cannot take care of this all by ourselves, but fortunately there are many other schools who can also tackle this problem. So yes, you see there's no developer on this desk. I forgot to run the slide before. Okay, so what's specific about Oclock? The format. First of all, it's fully remote. So it's an online school. Oh, you're going to say, fine, it's not very specific. We know many online courses. But we have instructors, we have real teachers, we don't have recorded teachers, we have flash teachers, you know. And also it's in real time. You don't attend classes when you want, you don't study at your own pace. Or this might sound bad because online courses, they say you can learn at your own pace, and it's an advantage for them. And we say you don't learn at your own pace with Oclock. You have to stick to the timetable, like in a real school, and this makes the format work. This makes people really learn how to code. And okay, I'm not going to convince you tonight, but just bear with me. What's this slide about? Yes, so it's the technologies we teach. Of course, we teach the basics of web development, but most importantly, we also teach the three most demanded technologies by companies in France, because Oclock is mainly from French people. So we adapted the technologies we teach to what French companies demand. And it's really important that people come out of our courses ready to apply to job positions, to job offers, which target specifically one of these technologies. Otherwise, it's difficult to make this first step. When you start being when you start being totally ignorant of development, and then you suddenly become a developer, but you don't have the right technology, you don't know the right technologies to apply right now at the end of the course to what companies need the most. So it's important to target them. And the little icon below means we deliver an officially recognized diploma. Okay. It doesn't mean a lot to us, but it means a lot to our students because it's a recognition, and it helps with self-confidence. This is us. We are a team of 50 people, and we have Okay, we look stupid in this picture, but we had a lot of fun prior to this picture, and we have one specific way of working together because we are a fully remote company. Each one of us work fully remote, 100%. We don't have any office space, we don't have any classes, and so we gather a few times a year, and this was one of these times. And yes, but we think it's very efficient to work this way, and also it helps us understand what the remote learning experience is like for our students, so we understand it better, and of course we can improve on it, right? Okay, so this is the most important part. Before was just discussion and presentation. How long do you think it takes to become a web developer and land a job, and land a web developer job, starting from zero? Okay, I will not survey you. I will give you my opinion, and this is. No, this. It's usually 5 months, at least 5 months. And believe me, I tried to make it shorter, and it didn't work, because I started 2 other schools prior to Oclock. I'm not going to name them, no way. But it was a shorter course, and I made it shorter because at that time I thought it would work, and I thought the shorter was the course, the more people would apply. The more it would adapt to other people's lives. But if it doesn't fulfill its promise, then it's not really useful. So 5 months, it's usually what it takes to get the needed skills in order to apply for web development job positions. Most of the time, because sometimes it takes longer. And it's okay to say this. It's okay to say that some people will take more time than 5 months. But 5 months is a good compromise. If for those of you who wish to start coding schools, I advise to take very seriously this the duration of the course, to take it into consideration and think very thoroughly about this, because if you make it too short, it won't work. Okay, so I have a warning sign, because what I'm going to say next, some people will not like it, so it's an unpopular opinion, but I will stand by it, and I will answer any questions if you have any. Can anyone learn how to code? So, of course, the answer is no, otherwise it wouldn't have been an unpopular opinion. I think not everyone can learn how to code. It doesn't mean that it's too difficult, that it's only for very, very intelligent people. The most important thing is that not everyone loves to learn how to code, likes to learn how to code. And this is fine. Nobody will question this. If you ask some random person around you and ask them, would you like to learn how to code? Most people will say no, and those people will in fact not be able to learn how to code because they won't like it. And we have to be very careful, because in the media and on the internet, on the social networks, there is a growing sentiment of wave that everyone should code, everyone should learn how to code. And I think we must not forget that in order to learn this kind of job, people have to like it. And if they don't like it, I think most people who don't like this job will not be able to learn it. But of course, we need more people who will not learn how to code. So for me, the solution is not to force code onto people who won't like it, is to make them like it. So to teach it in a playful way, in a funny way, so they will like it. Or just present it first before teaching it. You must present it in a way that is not too technical, not too scientific, because some people have problem with scientific subjects, and code is not per se scientific. It can be, but it's not definitely. What am I doing with the time? It's okay. It's okay. Okay, let's talk about women, because it's important to talk about women in this sector. There aren't enough women who know how to code, who are web developers. I think the official number in France is below 10%. Less than 10% of web developers or developers are women, and this is not enough. In our courses, we have roughly 20%, which is twice as much, so we are happy about this, but we always strive to improve on this number. But this is a different question. Most of the time we focus on how many people, how many women will go into coding schools and will try to learn web development. But what happens to them after the coding schools? How many of them succeed? How many of them become web developers? You will vote. So raise your hand if you think less than 5 to 10%, no, sorry, the percentages are not to be read like this. Raise your hand if you think that 5 to 10% less women than men succeed in becoming a web developer after the course. Okay, let's say that after a course, 70% of people become web developer. Okay, let's say 70%. Do you think women are in a 60 to 65% range and men are above 70%? Okay, this is the first option. Do you think it's roughly equal? Okay, or do you think women outperform men in becoming web developers after a course? Okay, first option. Someone will have to raise the hand for the first option. Okay, it's logical because women have not been into this sector for a long time, so maybe it's more difficult for them to apply for job positions. So even though they master the skills, they have difficulties getting the jobs. So this is the first option. Okay, 3 people. Equality. This is logical too, because why would there be any difference? We encourage women to learn the same things as men, and we think there is no reason it shouldn't be the same, so maybe it's the same. And what about the third option? Okay. Okay. This is a bit counterintuitive, don't you think? Why would we think that most women will get a job faster than men after a coding school, and there is only 20% applying for the courses? What's the real answer? It's the right one. Okay, so this is what we are seeing. We are seeing on the basis of several hundreds people who were in Oclock, who followed the course. We found out that women have higher chance of succeeding in their course than men. Let this sink in. Okay? Oh, you have no problem with this because you already thought that most women succeed. Okay, it's not about a competition, of course, but it should really guide us every single action we make as actors of this ecosystem in making this sector more open to women. And there are many ways these stats can be skewed, can be wrong, maybe. Maybe we don't have a big enough sample, or anyway. But it's something we can work with, and we can communicate this to other persons. All right? And this was, I think, the last thing I wanted to say. These are our sponsors, and I always want to show our sponsors at the end of my presentations because we wouldn't be here without them. So thank you very much for listening to me, and keep focused because after me there will be 2 other very interesting presentations. Thank you. I'll do it. I welcome here Chloe from Ada School. But make some noise, please.
Hi everybody, I'm Chloe. I'm really happy to be here. Thanks to the family for hosting these amazing events. I know they're pretty fond of all this education theme on how you reinvent the learning experience, how you make tech accessible for everyone, and yeah, how to make a better education. I believe that with Colori and Oclock, you will have like a nice vision of how we can learn code in a different ways. Colori with infant, Oclock with adults who wants to change their job path, and with Ada with young adults. Ada Tech School is a 2-year program for 18 years old students and above. The reason why I am here is because Ada stands for a new era in tech. What we want to do with Ada is offer a school which makes tech more accessible, more welcoming for women, and basically for everyone who feel rejected currently by the computer and the computer schools after high school. What I would like, basically, when I started to work on Ada a few months ago, I realized the huge problem we had with the gap, the gender gap in tech. And during all my research, what I would like to share with you tonight is actually the problem of women in tech is this symptom of how we need to reinvent the whole education system. So, first, before we begin, I think we should just go back through the landscape of the situation we have with women in tech. Sorry, with Dario, it's going to be a little bit of repeat. The origin of the problem. And then I would like to explain you how we can find a solution for that by getting back to the core values of coding and by redesigning a school accordingly to these core values. So the woman problem in tech. I know a lot of you have already heard about these numbers, kind of depressing. They're everywhere on the news, but basically just to know where we stand at. In 1985, we used to have in computer science 30% of female students. Right now, in 2019, in France, we have 10% of female in computer science. So actually what we're facing right now is not more female joining the tech industry, but more female getting out of the tech industry. So a few days ago, it's the New York Times headlines. It would take more than 100 years to bridge this gender gap in the tech industry. So just stopping with these depressing numbers, I believe that now we can focus on what can we do. But first, on what can we do, we can think of what's the origin of the problem. The origin of the problem. Actually, it's kind of easy, I would say first. It's cultural. Once you say that, culture, there's two things in culture. You have the culture you have, thousands of social construction, which is very slow to move. But you have another culture. This culture is the kind of the internal, the tech culture, and this you can change. A few months ago, so I started to work on Ada. What I did is I basically interviewed 200 of female developers, female students in computer school, coding school directors. And what I realized there is the problem we have is a cultural problem. What we're facing is the representation of a good programmer at this stage is you have to be the hoodie, programmer, archetype, crushing some code at night in your basement, drinking energy soda. So this archetype, which is a stereotype, has become kind of a dominant culture in these types of schools. The problem is, you have two types of problem. First is upstream. You have a problem of attractivity. Girls and a lot of other talents do want to join it because you're not feeling comfortable about how you're going to feel there. You're not feeling that you're going to fit in. So you have a problem upstream of attractivity. And then you have a problem also downstream, because when women are going into these schools, basically it's hostile. They're facing an hostile environment. And this is the figure we are getting. It's basically, they leave. They spend twice as much as energy to fit in, and then they leave. So that's the problem we're facing. Once we said that, this cultural issue is, you can change that. So how you can change that? It's kind of surprising because changing this culture is actually a shift of getting back to the core values of code. It may seem counterintuitive, but code is profoundly human. Code is profoundly social. There are three values I want to highlight about code and which code is carrying. Is being social, being human, being creative. Code is a tool of communication. It's a tool of communication between developers, but it's also a tool of communication with the machine. We're speaking of languages, we're speaking of code reviewing. Actually, a developer spends more time of reading its code, thinking its code, explaining its code, more than producing its code. So code is profoundly a tool of communication. It's social interaction. Code also is human. Why human? Because code is dedicated to producing tools, services, products towards users. So code is for human development. Code is human. Code is creative. I've been amazed when I interviewed developers talking about their code about like a piece of art. Code is a living material. Coders are working on a team with each other. Code, I heard like this comparison of reading a program as a picture, and then getting into each part of the program, seeing the details, like the details of a hand on a picture. So code is really creative and about making it a piece of art real. Okay, so we have these values. Now that you have these values, you can shift from a cultural, technical obsession of crashing code to a new culture which is much more inclusive. And that's what we want to do with ADA. We want to use these values, and we want to operate a shift of culture and to redesign the whole experience of learning, the whole experience of recruitment of talents in the tech industry. And by this, we want to make tech more feminine, we want to make tech more inclusive. So how are we going to do that? How are we going to do that shifting from these values? There's two problems we were speaking of, upstream, downstream. Upstream, what we're going to do is using three topics. First is skills. Once you say that code is social, is human, basically one of the most important skills, one of our social skills, soft skills. Saying that the most important thing you're looking for at your recruitment being soft skills, you're opening the pool of talents pretty much. Second thing is the pipeline. When you say that your values are creativity, social, human, you are also targeting people, talents, who would look for a school like communication, design school, business school. So you open a new pipeline of talents. You open a new pool of talents. Then, also, you have skills, you have pipeline, and you have your engagement. At Ada, we say we're feminist. So it can seem kind of silly, but once you said that, it's pretty impressive that actually women feel comfortable. When you talk to them, when you say this is a safe space, women feel comfortable to come. At Ada right now, what we can see with that is we have 70% of our application which are female. We are also getting inbound application of female teachers. Because when we say that to women, actually they come. So this is the upstream part on how we use this value to redesign all the recruitment of our school. Skills, pipeline, and feminism. Finally, the other part we're working on with these values is the part downstreams, how you retain talent, how you make them grow. Again, 3 topics. The first one is the student-centered curriculum. It's important to empower people, to make them feel confident about the skills they're getting, they're using. So what we've decided at Ada is offer a full student-centered curriculum. What does it mean? It means that the projects we're offering at Ada are mainly only framework for our students, and in each project they can choose the skills they want to work on. So basically, if you want to have the project build a social network, you have a lot of skills you can work on, and each student can choose the skills they want to work on. Student-centered curriculum. The second is community of care. Why community of care? Because we were telling about the thing that feeling comfortable to stay. Community of care is social, is how you build with the teachers, with the students, but also with the companies you're partnering with, and with the networks already existing locally. So what we're doing is we're teaming up with companies, we're sharing the same value with, and we're teaming up with networks, a lot of feminist networks here in Paris, such as Ladies of Code, Women on Rails, and we're teaming up to build an ecosystem around the school as a community of care for the students, for the teachers, but also for the developers and all the ecosystem. So we were saying student-centered curriculum, community of care, and the final one, which is I forgot it, but it may come back. It's probably not the most important one. Oh yeah, sorry, it is the most important one. It's basically the whole purpose of the school. It's what should a school do? Basically, it's empowerment. Because empowerment is about being autonomous, it's about being self-confident, it is a bit about being adaptable. We don't know what the world is going to be in the 20 next years. But what we can offer to our students is empowerment. So what we're doing is teaching our students to be fully adaptable to learning any programming languages, to be confident about speaking in public about their code, explaining it to the others, being coached during their apprenticeship during the second year, and being coached going to school from companies. So yeah, this is what we are doing downstream. I had 3 points. And this is how we want to redesign the whole experience of what a coding school is, thanks to the values, shifting from values to culture, and to upstream and downstream measures to attract new talents, but also to retain them, because that's the most important thing. We believe that by doing that, We're making tech more accessible for women, but we are also making tech more accessible to everyone. This is a shift from a universal conception of what is code, and this is adapted to any kind of profile. So yeah, ADA is opening on October, just across the streets. We're recruiting our first promotion for 30 students. And if you know people who want to learn code in a nice and welcoming way, send them to us and we will take care of them. Thank you. And I am welcoming Perrine from Colori.
I'm very pleased to be here. Thank you for being here despite of the heat. I hope you're still awake. I'll make you participate a little bit to keep you awake. And I'm pretty happy because I heard what was said and I think that I share a lot of things with the two people who talked before. So there will be little repetitions, but it's comforting in a way what learning code is today. And some very, very crucial elements. So let me introduce myself. I'm Perrine, I'm here. I used to be a social media and digital media manager for a big American company. And now I'm an entrepreneur. I still love talking with hands. And now I teach kids how to code. Yeah, that's pretty great to wake up every morning feeling truly aligned with what you do. But you know, that's not always easy to pass on your convictions to people. The first time I told people that I wanted to teach code to kids, they told me, oh yeah, why not? But I guess learning code and learning how to drive is a little bit early to kids, but yeah, people thought I wanted to teach kids how to drive. So there was a big misunderstanding, but I can get it. I can get it. I'm sure that many of you here are thinking, what is she talking about? I work with developers. I can barely understand what they're saying when they talk about bugs in the back office, and you want to teach kids with that? Why do you want to annoy little kids? But let me ask you a question. Who here already know how to code? Okay? And how many of you have kids between 3 and 6 years old? Okay, I do. Few of you. I'm a mother. I have a young daughter named Jeanne. She's 3 years old. And I decided to offer to her the opportunity to learn how to code right now. And let me explain you why. As a mother, as a citizen, as a 35, 40 marketing age group woman, I truly, really don't get Snapchat. I don't. And I find the world pretty scary. And media and TV shows really don't help us. Who from you have seen the new blockbuster from Netflix named I Am Mother? You did. For those who didn't, I Am Mother is just a story of robots, okay, giving birth to humans, raising them, and killing those who are not perfect. Pretty scary, right? Okay, that's sci-fi, all right. So let's talk about the real world. Google just announced that they wanted to eradicate death. Okay, Google, okay. Facebook is thinking about connecting our brains to an informatic system. And Elon Musk is calmly packing for his next holidays on Mars. He also said that when artificial intelligence will be smarter than the humans, it will treat us like pet Labradors. Is it just crazy? Maybe. Maybe not. I really don't get Snapchat. I don't. What I get, and what I'm sure about, is that I want my child to grow up as a strong adult who understands the world around him, who can collaborate, develop, and get used to the very quick changes of the world around him. So, if I want that for my child, I have to enable him to understand these society changes, and it is filled with technology. But we know that screens are not good and are not adapted to our kids, okay? So, what do we do? I have good news for you. Learning code, understanding how code works, does not need any screen. When you think about a developer, Chloe said that you always think about a guy alone or with a friend, and his best friend, his computer. Oh yeah, I forget that. I will tell you about that after. You think about this guy with his computer. I don't know if someone of you remember that show Code Lysa in the 90s. I love that. No, I'm the old thing from the 35-40 age group. Okay, thank you, thank you. That was about that. Some kind of developer only on their computers. But what can I say is it is a huge cliché. Saying that code is inextricable from screens is a cliché. Let's think about what an algorithm is. An algorithm is a set of instructions to solve a class of problems. So let's find a problem. Your teeth are dirty. You have to brush it. That is an algorithm. You don't get it? So forget the toothpaste and let's see if your teeth will be clean. I don't think so. So, more seriously, a lot of developers work on code, create code, imaginate code without using a screen. To understand code, you don't have to use a screen. And guess what? That's very good news for our kids. Because that's what I wanted to show you first. Kids have superpower. And they have superpower from 3 to 6 years old. You may think that it's very young to learn how to code, but it is not. Because kids from 3 to 6 have a huge capability, have a huge ability to learn. They love to explore, to observe. They love to manipulate all the things around them. So it is the time to help them and to make them learn what code is. So let's go further with my story of the developer. So I said that you don't need screen to learn to understand how to code. We know that young kids have superpowers. So from this point, with my associate and the founder of Colori, we worked on finding alternative ways to teach code without screen, stimulating all that is important for a kid between 3 and 6. And that's how we met this great woman named Maria Montessori. You may know Maria Montessori. She's a great, meticulous researcher, very known and quoted by the neuroscientists nowadays for all her work on children development. She created educational ways to help kids to learn with joy and a lot of pleasure. And it works. Let's explore a little bit how it works. For Maria Montessori, the most important is autonomy. And now I'm talking back to those who have kids. You know that, right? Every morning, your kid is saying, I want to do it by myself. I want to put my socks. I want to put my shoes. I want to do it. Don't help me. Even if you know that the shoe will be put on the wrong foot, even if you know that it will take ages to put the code on, even if you have a meeting in 20 minutes, that's always the same. But you know what? This is how kids learn the best. This is how they retain the information. This is how, thanks to their errors, they are wanting to try harder. That's why all Maria Montessori's material is self-correcting. When something doesn't fit, the kid can see it and can correct himself. Second point, aesthetic. That's and kind of that's obvious, I would say, aesthetic. When you put something aesthetic in the hand of a child, he wants to know how it works. He wants to play with it. That's the same for all of us. Remember the last time you had your last iPhone in the hands? You wanted to use it, for sure. That's the same with kids. And the last point, kindness. Be kind with kids. Be kind to everyone. Be kind to every people, every adult. When you're kind, you retain better. And be kind to a kid in education is to educate the whole kid, not only the cognitive part, the whole kid. And giving him, I would say, emotional capabilities will help him in cognition capabilities. It is very important. So, it's not centered, but no matter. That's what we do at Colori. At Colori, we teach code to children from 3 to 6 in the Montessori way. Our aim is not to make every kid a future geek. No way, that's not the point. The point is to help them to understand the world surrounding them. That's the only point, understand. Because when you understand, you come from the user point to the doer point. Understanding enable kids to I would say, deal with the world surrounding them. It gives them principles and capabilities that they will keep for a life being. That's what we do. So come with me in the workshop. First, at Colori, during a workshop at Colori, you can learn how to program without any screen, thanks to this little robot named Cubeto, created by Primo Toys. And you can learn the basics of programming, of coding, hands-on play, so without any screen. You can also discover how computer screens work. We teach to kids the basics of the binary system, made of 0 and 1s. And by this way, we teach them how to create pictures through pixel style, like on screens. We help them to get into algorithmic logic through a tale created by Amelia, the founder of Colori, and illustrated by Auraline Beer, which is a great illustrator. And through the adventures of Piero, you can see here, you can wonder and questionate about the surrounding world, technology, robots, and kids love that. You can also chat about technology and learn new words, thanks to part cards. Children can associate images to words, learn new words, and we discuss with them about technology, what is the difference, for example, between a machine and a robot, and so on. And at last, we work also with a great startup named Learning Beautiful, which was created by Kimberly Smith, who is a researcher from the MIT. She made 5 years of research around code and children, and she created beautiful materials she sent to us so we can test it with French kids. And it works. Kids love it. They come back. They want to learn more. Educators recommend us. The various activity clubs we work with are re-signing next year, so we are very happy, and it's give us an ambition, a huge, huge ambition, as our aim is really to enable every kid to understand the code, understand the technology around him, as we truly believe that by teaching every kid, wherever she or he is, we will enable him to grow with the same opportunities in life. And we will feel the lack of women profiles and underprivileged profiles in digital jobs nowadays. Yeah, I didn't tell you we made a great crowdfunding experience that worked a big success. We had 100% of the objective achieved in 10 days, showing that people are really getting into Code for Kids and that they really love what we do. And I just wanted to tell you too that we are working with great partners to achieve our goals. The CRI, that is just around the corner, which is the Centre de Recherche Interdisciplinaire, who makes research around young kids in the technological work, so they give their researches to us so that we can imagine new materials. L'association Montessori de France helps us to create materials adapted to kids from 3 to 6. And Learning Beautiful, I told you about them, that send us their great material. So tomorrow we want Colori to become a method that will be played in every school by the teachers, by the parents, during the vacation, at home. We want everybody to be trained and to learn and to train at their turn to the kids. That is our aim. Maria Montessori said, since the jobs that our preschoolers will do probably don't exist yet, our priority is to teach them the skills to adapt and inquire and question and cooperate. If you are an entrepreneur, you do that. Every day you adapt, you inquire, you question and you cooperate. Our aim is to give these skills to kids so that they can be here at your place tomorrow, wherever they come from. If it's a girl, if it's a boy, we don't care. That is our aim. Thanks for listening.
You want to go first?
I already had a go at this one. You can try.
Okay. I think there's a conception today that AI is going to replace human coders, and finally we're not going to need any coders. So why should we all learn to code? What we believe at ADA is programming is more of a mindset, is more about a way of thinking. And even if what we can see is languages are changing, we are having a lot of technique which make coding easier, much more closer to the human language. The way of programming is basically understanding a problem, cutting it into pieces, and how you're telling the machine to execute it. And I believe that even if AI is improving, we'll always need people able to understand this way of thinking and to talk to this AI or to the machine.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. That's more about understanding. I repeated it 100 of times. But it's more about understanding than to know how to code and to become a coder. The point is to understand how it works so that you can understand the world around you. Every weekend I have kids who just think that robots are human and they want to hug it and they find it so cute. And it is important for them to learn that it's just a machine, it's like a chair, it's an object. And I guess that many adults nowadays think pretty the same. And once again, I was kidding, but all the TV shows and all the films just nourish, if I may say that, I don't know, but it gives feed to that, and we have to cut it down. And in that way, I think that everybody should not learn, but understand what code is and what technology is today.
Will code still be relevant in 20 years? I want to say a big yes, because code will change, but code will still be there, and code has already changed in the past 20 years. I learned code before that, and it changed. Layers of abstraction will add on top of what we know. Some of them will will contain some artificial intelligence maybe, but they will just be layers of abstraction in 20 years at least. I'm not saying in 200 years, I'm saying in 20 years. So if people like to code and they think they can learn it, then it will be a future-proof skill, I think.
I can go with just a small example, because when I started, as I wanted to create like a school, a real one for post-high school students, I started to interview school director, coding school director, but also just school directors. And one day I met a director who was not a coding school director, who asked me, who actually, no, not asked me, but told me this is irrelevant. You doing a coding school, this is irrelevant. You're not from the coding school, not a coder. This is irrelevant of you doing a coding school. And I believe that this is actually what I was saying of being this culture of you have to be initiated, you have to be a part of it, or otherwise you're not relevant in this culture. So I believe that the hardest thing I had to manage is my imposter syndrome, and how actually being an outsider can help you understand what are the barriers, what can you leverage to attract new people to this industry.
I'm sorry, I wasn't listening to you because I was thinking very hard of what I could say. And now I really have to say we grew from 0 to 50 plus people in less than 3 years without fundraising, without investors, and I can't see what could have gone better. So we didn't have any big limits, so not financial, regulatory mindset. So some people don't like what we do, but we don't talk to them anyway, so.
I'm just thinking of something, what we were talking about it like just before and with you, and probably I can let you talk about that. But it's the conception of education in France, which should be an organization, not with benefits. We were talking about that with being a part of Paris Code, and being an organization. I believe that this is probably a thing you have when you're creating a school or something in education in France, is facing the mindset in France that school has to be public, an organization free for everyone. And I think that's something which is pretty hard of convincing that what you're doing is actually a quality education.
Yeah. Well, I agree with you. I have no limits to my ambition. No, I think that you can't have limits to your ambition when you're an entrepreneur. You have to go forward, but you have to adapt yourself to the situations. And your first ambition will change. Whatever happens, it will change. It will evaluate. I guess it's my point. I don't know how it worked for you, and that is what you are saying. I deal with teaching young kids to code, and for that I have to work with the Éducation nationale, which is pretty tough. And that was our aim from the beginning. And right now we work with more, I would say, the activity clubs after school, because it's too complicated right now to go in classrooms. But our ambition didn't change. It just moved, adapt. That's the point. But that's true. That's very difficult in France, because the structure is what we call in French a mastodonte. That's true.
Go remote, or at least think about going remote, because almost no one is doing it, and in our experience a lot of people want to learn remotely. So there you have a niche market, but a niche market nobody is looking at this moment, almost no one. Just one for me.
I'd say do not do a coding school, do a school, care for your students, and coding is not the final purpose. The final purpose of a school is, trying to say, empowerment, and helping your students to grow and to master the skills you want to share with them. And so I think that coding should not be the final purpose, it should be the foundation. So think about how you want to do, if you want to create a coding school, think more of which school you want to create, remote, not remote, and what you want to share with your students, and how you want to take care of them.
I would say that is not only for coding school, I guess, but that was I was saying be flexible and adapt yourself to the situation to evaluate. You have to listen to people surrounding you, take the good advices, let the bad ones, so be self-confident in what you do, but flexible enough to hear the good advices, and meet people who have already done the bad stuff, you know, so that they can help you and help you to gain time, if I may say so. Because if you just talk with people who already made coding school, you will have many answers to all the questions you may have.
I would say also about being flexible. We've all spent around 25 years in schools. We're ending up with a lot of bias. So I think you should also question your bias of how should the school look like. Basically, it's what's the teacher, what's learning, what's the age of learning. And I think that through the traditional education and the time we're spending there, we have a lot of bias, and I've learned that working on ADA, working with a team who has like a complete other vision of the traditional education I had, and it took me a while to understand how we had a lot of bias of how you want to evaluate people, how you want to recruit them, are they good, are they bad, and there's a lot of things you have to work on it, on this bias you have to build it from scratch and to do something really new.
Hi, I have a question mainly for Ada and for Oclock. Sorry, Perrine. So I teach code to children until high school, and what I see after high school, when we go outside the traditional computer science school system, is mainly web development teaching. My question is a two-part question, is what do you aim to teach at Ada, since you are more focused on the way of thinking and the empowerment side more, and why did you go also on the web devs course for Oclock? Is it because there is a bigger market on the web dev side, or is it because it's easier to learn, or is it something else? Thank you.
We're not focusing on web development, actually. That's what the student-centered curriculum is for that. Each project is a chance to actually broaden your knowledge on web development, networks, system administration, or anything else. We have the guts that a lot of basically the knowledge, the outside knowledge people have from development is web development, because you have front and this is what you know, but we're not focusing on that, and we offer our students to choose the skills they want to target. For that, if I can be a little bit more precise, we have defined a cloud of skills with badges. We are using the open badges from Mozilla as a reference, or Freinet for the younger people. And we have built this cloud of skills, and we offer our students to navigate in this cloud of skills and to pick the badges they want to work on during all the projects. So yeah, that's why, and we are in 2 years, so we offer the chance to, yeah, it's a 2-year curriculum, so we have the time to do that.
Okay, our students are 31 years old on average, and they have a very specific purpose, is to learn a new job, because either they don't have one or they want to change. So we have a very little time to help them with this target, 5 months. So we chose web development because it's easier. It's the easiest step, we think, in learning how to code. Once you've done this step, you can easily learn other things outside web development. But we think it's the easier step. And also there's a huge need for these skills. So it makes sense to help help them become web developers because we have a very short time frame, and even though it only takes 5 months, they still get skills that will help them land jobs with companies. But yes, we also teach them that, we also tell them that they will never stop to learn. So we help them learn web development in 5 months, but they will never stop, and we encourage them to explore other fields and learn either by themselves or with the help of schools to further their skills outside of web development or in web development, but with other technologies.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi. My question is about actually the gap between being 6 years old and 18 years old. So do you have names of initiatives that target this population? And I suppose you can also answer.
Yeah, we are magic makers. We operate in Paris and in Bordeaux, and we teach kids from 7 to 18 to code on different aspects. We go on the computer and off the computer. We do both, and we work with Colori for the younger kids. And so it's after school. And we work with some schools to be integrated in their after-school programs. So magic makers.
Bonjour. Par contre, je me permets de parler en français parce que ce sera plus simple pour moi d'exprimer ma question, enfin ma réflexion. C'est au sujet de Colori. Donc du coup, je me demande si le fait d'apporter justement cette capacité de comprendre l'environnement dès cet âge, quelque part, ça ne va pas leur donner des difficultés avec l'être humain, avec ses camarades qui n'auront pas eu accès justement à cet apprentissage et même avec la société qui n'est peut-être pas forcément adaptée encore. Je ne sais pas si...
I should answer in English, I guess. So yeah, the question was if we teach some kids how to code and what technology is there a risk for them to become outside of the true society in a kind of robot world and in kind of not in the same adaptation as other kids in their classrooms, for example? Once again, the point is not really to make them super coders. It's just to give them the opportunity to just understand what a robot is, what a machine is, and to make the difference in a way between robots and real life. So it's just giving them skills to adapt to the real world, but it's not providing them something that they will be more than another one. It's just giving them some skills. It's like when you're in preschool in France, the major point is learning how to speak. It's language. And when you arrive in what we call in French the CP, you learn how to read and how to write. And kids who have a good way of speaking, who have a good language, learn easily how to read and how to write. Our point is nearly the same. If you teach kids from 3 to 6 what technology is and how it works, just to know that behind the screen you have 0 and 1s, just that. When they will be in CP, and when you will give them a screen and learn them how to code, they will have this knowledge that will help us to learn better how it works. So it's an opportunity, but it's not a way to make a kind of exclusion of them. It's not the point, absolutely not.
Is it working like this? Yeah, okay. So my question is for, well, just EDA school.
So I was interested, I mean, you've spoken a little bit about, I mean, very superficially, but a little bit on the, like the methodology that you're going to apply to the classroom. So I guess I was curious to know why 2 years, basically. I guess there's a reason behind, especially considering that that seems a rather big engagement when it comes to time from the students. And I guess this is connected to my question on the certification, because you've mentioned open badges, but I'm guessing the 2 years time means that they're going to have something at the end that, I mean, I'm not sure if it's like official or what it is, or how you're thinking about that. Yeah, if you can say a few words on that. Thanks.
The 2 years choice, so 1 year during the 2 years, 1 year is in school, and 1 year is in apprenticeship. So basically you have 1 year in school and 1 year you're experimenting everything you've learned with, like in real life. The idea of doing 2 years is basically probably a little bit far off the boot camps trends, yes, but the idea is we are addressing younger people, and what we want to offer them is some time to grow, some time to feel confident, and offering them a year seems pretty reasonable, and reasonable also to tackle a deep, we're talking about just web development. It's just not web development. It's going into the lower, you were saying couches? No? Okay. So yeah, taking some time to deepen your knowledge, and also taking some time to coach you through apprenticeship, through going professional in companies. And this is a deliberate choice to, help people to grow, because when you're 18, 20, you need this time also to figure it out who you are, becoming an adult. And this is why we made this choice. And for the diploma, this is something we're working on. In French, it's pretty a pain in the ass, but to say it nicely. We're working on it. There's also things changing through the regulation, but yeah, we're pretty comfortable with saying that in 2 years our students will go out with a certification which would be recognized by the state.
Sorry, can I just have like a quick follow-up question? Just because you mentioned then, it means then that your recruitment process, so maybe you mentioned and I just missed too many informations, you're going to be focusing then on just the French definition of young people, right? Up to 26.
Yeah.
Okay.
You mean on ages? On age?
Yeah. Age-wise, yeah.
Yeah, age-wise, we're addressing more than 18 years old students and above. Because it's a 2-year program, we believe that we're much more in the higher education traditional way you see it. But we feel that this kind of putting some ages is a bias we have all today. We think that education now is all along your life. So basically, if you have 2 years to spend in education, in going into our program, we welcome you. So it's just 18 years old and above, but being 2 years is designed for people from between 18 to 30, basically.
First, thank you for your talk. It was very interesting. I have many questions, but I will try to ask only one. But before, I will try to hack the event by saying I'm an entrepreneur developing a platform with interactive exercise for code, AI, and science. And I have many questions for you. What are your revenue models? Are you free for your students? And in that case, do you depend on public aid, and do you feel that it's comfortable? And for Colori, you mentioned national education. Did you try to get into national education and sell them something? And if yes, how? I'm very interested.
Yes, we did, and we work with national education. But we work with them in more in I would say for conferences or events. They have a lab for innovation we participate in, and we meet twice or third times a year the people who is in charge of preschool at the National Education. But National Education is the hugest firm, I would say, in France. So between the people you meet and the classrooms, there is a kind of big gap. And so we work with National Education, but going, I would say, school to school, meeting teachers to teachers. So it's a huge, huge work. That's why we chose to develop Colori first, to work with towns and then structures depending on towns. So I mean on the Wednesdays, activity clubs and so on. But we try, and we are working with teachers, but that's pretty tough.
Our revenue model is 60% based on public funds. So 60% of our students pay nothing or just part of the course, and 40% pay for themselves. And this is some advice I want to give people who want to launch coding schools. Is that, of course, the more you can offer free courses, and the faster you will grow. But do not underestimate the willing for people to pay for their courses. It's not because we have been we have this habit of not paying for education that people will not make this choice for themselves when they see it's the right thing for them, and what you offer is truly unique in some way or another. So we were actually a bit surprised by this 40% that is people who pay, it's 6,000 euros for 5 months. So it's not cheap, really. And 40% people pay for themselves, not just in one time, in many times, but still. And we were a little surprised by this.
And for us, so as we are pretty young, we don't have any public funds or so. And it's also a choice for us to be agile, and we started on working on opening at Ada. It was in January. We want to open in October. So we had to be really agile and not focusing on making huge documents for public funds. What we offer is half of the curriculum is paid by apprenticeship, half of it, the other half is paid by the students. It's 8,000 a year. We're thinking of different ways in 2020 to make it more accessible to more students. But for now, yeah, we're focusing on people, for our first cohort, on people who want to pay and offer them this chance of having a quality education, because the only thing we have worked on during these past months is delivering a quality education to our students.
I just will say that I just totally agree with you. When you truly believe that what you're doing has his quality time and has real quality to sell, you will sell it. We have public teachers. They don't have a lot of money, public teachers, but they go across France. They come from Marseille and so on, just to come and to be trained to Colori, to be able to teach their kids in their schools how to code. So if they find it interesting, they will pay for it. Don't underestimate what you're doing.
You should consider training them remotely.
Yeah, we consider it. In fact, we consider it.
Anyone for a question? So I can ask another question. Do you know Lambda School? And have you considered this business model where it's free for the student until he gets a job? I think it's at a loss of potential.
Yes, we actually do it. We started doing it before we saw Lambda School.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, but we would like to do it more. For now, it's a little bit of an experiment that is running. But yes, so it's called, in the United States, they call it income sharing agreement. And this is something that really works in France too. It's just that it's difficult to run it because it requires some big funding that we don't have for now.
That was I was thinking of what we want to do in 2020. But basically, yeah, we need more funds, so this has to be postponed for next year because it's something.
Thank you for your questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Que la famille.